What's up guys, Brad here from Piney Grove, and I've been taking a few months to compile together a whole bunch of parts for this project, and I'm really excited about it, and it's a new way, or at least a new way to us, of how to use an IBC tote. What we have here is a 250, or it might even be 275 gallon IBC tote, and it's food grade. Now I've been told that food grade doesn't mean that it's potable water or water that you can drink, but we're not gonna be drinking water from this. But I did get it from a beekeeper, a local beekeeper here in North Florida, and he cleans out these same totes and then he makes some sort of bee food concoction and he feeds it to his bees. And we need bees to spread pollen and do all the things that bees do, so I don't think that he would be endangering his bees' lives by using an IBC tote like this to feed them food. But we're not feeding bees at Piney Grove. What we're trying to do is have a portable water system so that we can water, say, plants across the property, pressure wash somewhere where there's not a hose, and also just to relieve some of the strain on our well pump. And I'll explain that a little bit more. So if you're on city water, you probably have this big, huge tank somewhere in your city, and they pump water up there, and then it's gravity fed to all the houses in the neighborhood. Or they might have a pressurized system, but either way, when you turn on your faucet in your house, if you're on city water, you're not worried about a pump cycling. Well, out here in the country, we have to dig a well to get water, and a well works by pressurizing your lines, and then when you use the water in your toilet, your bathtub, your sink, or whatever, as soon as that pressure gets down to a certain point, your pump kicks on. And if you don't use as much water as the pump can put out, then your pump will cycle. So it'll come on, it'll meet the demand, and then it'll switch off in your pressure tank until your pressure tank goes lower, and then it'll kick back on. So it's not really a good idea to use a well pump that's not set up correctly for irrigation, or use water if you're not going to utilize the full 20 gallons per minute that the well pump can provide. So that's the third reason why we want to have this system here. We're going to talk about how we adapt the IBC tote to take a water hose, and then we're going to take the parts here that I've assembled here on the table. And all of these things were bought from Amazon by us. We're not sponsored. This video isn't sponsored. It's just an idea I had in my head, and we wanted to share it with you. First thing I did was mark the IBC tote just so I knew where the graduation marks were for the amount of water. And the reason that we have it on the Summit dump trailer instead of on the tractor, a tractor with forks can only lift around 1,000 pounds, and water is about 8 pounds per gallon. So you put about 100 gallons of water in here, and that's about all that your tractor can lift. So for us, it's not a good idea to try and use this tote the way we want to use it by moving it around with the tractor. So there's many different ways that liquid comes out of these IBC totes. Most of them, we're going to have a valve right here, if not all of them. And then this is the part that may vary. And this particular one has a 2-inch standard threaded pipe, or standard pipe threads. And you can buy this adapter on Amazon to adapt it down to a 3/4 garden hose. And we also bought the adapter to adapt this down to the cam lock, or the quick disconnect, and this is what we'll use with our trash pump, because we have another idea for this tote. So you see Miss Piney Grove behind me, she wants to do some mowing today, but my project is this tote. All right, so last time you used half of the fuel in there, so we're gonna have to fuel it up. But you're pretty excited about mowing?
I am excited about mowing. I do love my Spunky, and I can't wait till I get my new machine and figure out a name for her, hopefully soon.
I don't know what she thinks this is, a gas station or something?
Top her off, sir, and don't worry about the windshield.
You see what I got to put up with here at Piney Grove? Deb just said she's never charged her headset that she uses when she mows, and she mows a lot. But you know, another thing that Deb's never done? Fill her mower up with fuel.
Why I got to do that when I got him? He likes it. He's like, can I fill your mower up, please, ma'am?
Lies. Lies, all lies.
Exaggerations, never lies.
It was literally 100 degrees yesterday, and today is going to be more of the same. All right, you're off. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. Just going to put the 3/4 pipe adapter on here, or 3/4 garden hose adapter on here, and I'm going to do it just hand tight and see if it leaks. If it leaks, then we'll put some tape on the threads and tighten it a little tighter, but I really think that's going to be good enough to stop the water flow. So these are all the supplies that we assembled. I bought a 3-foot hose, and this hose is supposed to go from the tank to the pump. I probably should have got a little longer one, but I think it's going to work. And then I also got a 6-foot hose, thinking I would use that to actually like water plants, and I guess it'll work, but I probably should have got a 6-foot hose and then maybe a 10 or 12-foot hose. The diameter of this hose is all 3/4. What I'm trying to avoid is having any smaller hoses that restrict flow here out on the farm. So everything I buy is going to be 3/4. And this here is the best hose I've ever found, and we have these hoses at all of our spigots around the property here. And it's a 3/4 hose. It's UV resistant. It's just a really, really good hose. It's fairly expensive. I bought my first one at a local farm store here, and then they ran out. So then I looked all over on the internet, and if they're on Amazon, I'll leave a link. I don't think I bought that from Amazon. They're probably $50 a hose or so, maybe even a little bit more, but well worth it. A good hose that lasts, that doesn't kink, that has good water flow is just essential when you're working off a well. So what I have here for the system is what's called SAE 2-pin, and you've probably seen these on like ATV sprayers and spreaders. But I bought all 10 gauge material, so the smaller the wire size, or the smaller the wire number, the bigger the wire size. So I think 10 gauge is the biggest you can get in this. So this will hook to the battery. It's a fused link. And then from the battery, I've got an SAE 2-pin extension, but I think it's 15 or 20 feet. And then I got a switch for it because I didn't want to unplug it and plug it when I wanted the pump to come on, and the pump doesn't have a switch on it. Again, it's 10 AWG. And if you didn't know, these 2 pins have polarity, so they have a positive and a negative. But the first thing I got to do is put an end on the pump. I really thought the pump would come with the SAE 2-pin end, so I had to buy a pigtail, and I've already put the connector on the pigtail, and so I just crimped that on there. And now I need to put I've got the male end on this side, so I need to put the female end on the pump side. And then we can start putting the fittings on the pump, and it should go quickly where it's hooked up to the IBC Tote and we're pumping water. So this is the name of the pump. It's called Young Tree Water Pressure Pump, 12 volt, and it has somewhere on here the gallons per minute. I'll throw that up on the screen. But it comes with all the fittings, and it comes with this strainer. And they also give you the Teflon tape. We're going to put this strainer on. This is the inlet side, so we'll put a little bit of tape, Teflon tape on this. Make sure it doesn't leak. Also want to make sure we don't cover up the inlet port at all. The filter's removable, but it's got a screen inside of there to protect the pump if you're sending dirty water to it. If that leaks there, we can always come back and put some more tape on it. Now we'll tape up where the garden hose comes in from the bottom of the IBC Tote. And they give you fittings for like some kind of rubber hose, and then they also give you fittings for the garden hose. So we'll put this end here so that we can screw the garden hose on that way on the inlet side. Don't want to over tighten that because you can break these fittings. Do the same for the outlet side. And for the outlet side, you'll just run your garden hose like that over top of that. Next, we'll put on the electrical connectors. And so this is the pigtail. That's the male end. We'll put a female spade on the pump side, and then this will fit right inside of that, like that, and give us a somewhat, I won't say waterproof, but we'll say water resistant connection. This came with female side spade bits on it, but they're not big enough to fit over the ones that I have. So I picked up these pliers years ago, probably from Home Depot or Lowe's, and these are just amazing. They can strip the wire so easily. I don't know if you can see that in there, but just do that and your wire's stripped. Put a little twist on that. With 10 gauge coming from the battery, and it looks like it's probably 14 gauge or so, maybe 12 gauge on the pump itself, we should have plenty of power coming from the battery across that long extension cord without it degrading and not being able to run the pump. So slip these fittings or these connectors on here, crimp it. I actually do a double crimp. So leave a comment down below. Do you do a single crimp or a double crimp? Put this side on and then the electrical will be done as far as having to crimp on anything. I like that. That's a good connection. We'll go black to black, red to red on this side. Now we've got a good conversion to SAE 2-pin here. I think the pump is pretty much ready to go. The first thing we'll do is thread the hose into here while we can turn the hose around. And this is where this short hose might really come in handy. Otherwise, I'd have to take this fitting off the pump in order to thread that hose in, because you wouldn't be able to spin 50 feet of hose around. Not easily, anyway. All right, so that's in there. So remember when I said 3 feet might have been too short? Might have been perfect. We're kind of engineering on the fly here. The more I got thinking about it, the more I decided that I need to have a board or something to mount the pump to, because I don't want it sliding around there in the trailer. I'm going to put this behind here. So this will fit in between the two metal supports. So there's another metal support there. I'll put that there. And I'll put the pump right there. And the pump has rubber mounts on it for vibration. And I just figure that's better. Rather than it just vibrating around here on the trailer, it'd be better if it was mounted. Make some marks to center it up, and then we'll use some cat's claw lag bolts here to hold the pump on. Just put 4 of them. They should self-tap right through this thin metal, and we should be good. Find the center of this 2x6. We'll find the center of this metal plate. 14 the center. Let's mark what the 2x6 will look like behind there. Just the boundary so we know where to put the pump. See if we can get a little assistance from a clamp here. This should hold it in place good enough for what we need to do. The big thing I want to make sure I don't do is put a screw through the tank. Everything else I can recover from. All right, I think we got it. So that wasn't planned, but I'm sure glad I did it. I like the way that's shock mounted with the rubber feet on the pump, and it's up out of the way and you don't have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna tie strap this SAE 2-pin right here, and then that way I can use the extension to go to the tractor. In this case, the Hyson sector will come right off the battery of that. But that way this will be up out of the way and I won't have to worry about that getting tangled or ripped off. So we talked about the switch for the pump, and this is why I have a switch, is I can be back here and turn the pump on and off. I couldn't find either a pigtail or an extension with a switch on it. And this is a real high-grade switch. They had a lot of good reviews and just seemed like it would work really well for me. All right, so we turn the switch so it's red to red and black to black. We'll do the same thing on the extension here. So if I turn this switch around, this male end and this female end, on the other side of the switch, the red has a male end. On this side of the switch, it has a female end. So that way I can keep red to red all the way down the line. In the same way with the extension, so red to red on the female side here, coming out of the male side. And now it's red on red, black on black. For now, I'm going to tie strap the switch on here. I don't know if I'll use it anywhere else for anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and make it semi-permanent. I wanted this to be long enough, no matter what I hooked it up to, because if you hook it up to the tractor battery is in the front. The Hyson battery is underneath the driver's seat. So if the tractor was hooked up here, it might be a stretch to get to the front of the tractor. I might have to buy a longer cable for the tractor. I'm not going to tie strap this because I want to be able to remove this, but I got to make sure that this doesn't get caught in the wheel or anything when I'm going around the property. Battery's under the seat of the Hyson, so we'll just pull the seat out. 2 wing nuts under here, and the battery's here, and it has a like vent holes so we can bring the wire through. Go red to red, black to black. Here's what it looks like when it's hooked up to the battery. You got to keep these lower than that lid right here. And with these bigger gauge clamps, it's a little bit hard to do on the positive side. On the negative, it lays flat right there because there's a nice place for it. But when I take this cover and put it down there, it'll come out like that, and then that will connect up there to the extension. And that should provide me a good connection. When I've had the sprayer in back of the Hyson and I had it hooked up like this, it never came unhooked going across, you know, bumpy ground and stuff. So you don't want to have to go underneath here and keep checking on those terminals. I hooked up that extension to the clamps on the battery and I got a power indication here. I got a light. Let's turn it on and let's see if the pump will start. Yep, the pump started. All right, let's put on my too short of a hose and go fill this thing with water, see what happens. Hopefully what happens is water comes out of this hose I just put on. Let's go over to the well and fill it up. This is that 3/4 hose. We're gonna hook it up to this hydrant and then we'll go inside the pump house and see if it'll keep the well pump running without it cycling. All right, here we go. I knew that was gonna happen. While we're letting that fill up, we'll go inside the well house here and see how the pump's doing. This is inside the well house with the pressure tank. And you can see by looking at the gauge, we're under 40 PSI. So the well pump at the bottom of the well is pumping. If this gets up to, I think around 60, the well will turn off, or the well pump will turn off. And then the pressure will drain down to 40. And then when it drains down to 40, the well pump will kick on again and just keep cycling back and forth. But by using all 1-inch pipe, here's a 1-inch pipe, goes to the house, goes to the shed, and 1 inch underground to the hydrant, and then a 3/4 hose to the IBC tote. And that gives you lots of throughput. And now once the well pump kicks on, it only kicks on once. And what burns out a well pump is it cycling back and forth. And that's kind of the big reason for this project, is so that we're not having sprinklers or, you know, using a little bit of water here and there. Fill this thing up and then you have this thing full and you can use it, you know, for 3, 4, 5 different projects, and you've only turned on the well pump once. All right, Miss Piney Grove has joined us for the christening here. We don't have anything under pressure, but I don't see anything leaking. So you want to do the honors over here and hit the button and see if water comes out? Just that button right there. See if it'll get its prime.
Uh-oh. There she goes.
Wow, that's, I just love that. That's huge.
Nice.
I guess that's the most flow that it has, but that's quite a bit of flow if we want to go around the property and water trees and stuff.
Nice.
Smell it. Do you have any, see if you have any smell to it. All right, guys, this was a huge success story. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll put the links to everything down below. If you want to create something like this on your homestead, you can probably see the line right there. We're right at 100 gallons. That didn't take long at all. That's a 20 gallon per minute well pump. And we will turn off this spigot and then we'll go watch the pressure gauge inside the well house. So the well is still pumping and now it should build up pressure. It's already up to 50. I think the switch is set for 60. So we were able to take all that pressure, all that flow, and put it inside that IBC tote without cycling the pump. And let's see, it hit 60 and then the well will shut off. You should be able to hear it. That click was the pressure switch hitting 60 PSI, and then that turned off the well pump, and now the tank is pressurized until the next time it goes down below 40 PSI. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this project. I'll put a list of everything I used here down below in the description and also in a pinned comment. You can use our Amazon links. It doesn't cost you any more than if you were to go on Amazon and find it yourself. So that's going to wrap it up. So until next time, remember, life's short, tractor hard.